Hey fifth graders, it's Mrs. Trombley. It is time for lesson 4 in unit 5, and today we're going to multiply a decimal by a decimal. So you need your notes packet opened up to page 5 and a pencil, and let's get to it. So the first thing I'd like to do is just review what we learned in lesson 3, how to multiply a decimal by a whole number, meaning 5.4 is a decimal, 21 is a whole number. And we had said yesterday, when we did this in class, or I don't know when you were watching this, so we said last time, that when you multiply a decimal value by a whole number, that our first step is to kind of ignore this decimal point and just multiply the digits normally. So if you were doing 54 times 21, you would first take care of this ones place. 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 5 is 5. And then we're really multiplying by 20 now, so I'm going to put my 0 in the ones place because that's what happens when you multiply by powers of 10. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 5 is 10. And we add them together. 8 plus 5 is 13. Carry my 1. And we get 1,134. That's not our answer, though, right? So we said ignore the decimal point, multiply the digits normally. Well, when we ignored this decimal point, it was like multiplying 5.4 by 10, right? We shifted it one place to the right. So to undo that, to make sure that I am using 5.4, 5 and 4/10 instead of 54, I now need to move my decimal point one place to the left, which undoes that. So the decimal point would be here. When I go one place to the left, now it's right there to get an answer of 113.4. Maybe pause this and try this one, and then press play to check your work. Okay, so I'm going to start off by ignoring this decimal point, or in other words, I'm going to shift it 2 places, right? And do 17 times 35. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. Bring down my 0. 3 times 7 is 21. And 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. We put them together, and if you got 595, you're almost right. Remember that when we made this 17, you shifted the decimal point 2 places to the right. So now in my answer, to undo that, to make it 1700ths again, I have to shift my decimal, which is right here, right? It's at the end when we don't see it, 2 places back to the left. So 5 and 95 hundredths is what you should have. Okay, so good news. When today we multiply a decimal by a decimal, we're basically going to be using the same exact steps here. So you start off and you multiply the digits normally and ignore the decimals. This time both factors are going to have decimals. So we are ignoring both of them. And now what you can do is you can count the digits to the right of the decimal in the problem. Or in other words, we can see how many times did we multiply by 10 to get rid of that decimal. But you're doing it for both factors this time. And then you place the decimal point in the product. So it has the same number of digits to the right of the decimal point as the factors do in total. So basically what's happening is you're going to have to shift the decimal to the right in both of the factors, and then however many places you had to shift to the right between both factors, that's how many places you have to shift it back to make it an equivalent answer. So let's try some. I have 4.2 times 2.7. So our first step is to ignore these decimal points and just multiply the digits. So if I got rid of that decimal point, it would be 42, and if I got rid of that decimal point, it would be 27. So what's really happening is we shifted one place right and we shifted one place right. So this time we had to multiply by 10 twice between the two factors. Anyway, multiply our digits. 2 times 7 is 14. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 1 is 29. We bring down our 0. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. And we add them together, 4, 13, 11. Now we start off and you have 11.34, right? Now in our problem, we had to multiply 4.2 by 10 to make it 42, and we multiplied 2.7 by 10 to make it 27. That means that we multiplied by 10 twice, so that means in my answer I need to shift the decimal point once for that one and once for that one. So in my problem, I have 2 numbers behind the decimal point. In my answer, I should have 2 numbers behind the decimal point. All right, take a look at the next one. I have 0.12, so 12 hundredths times 4 and 6 tenths. If I ignore my decimal points, it's kind of like moving it 2 places over. If you got rid of that decimal point, you'd have 0, 1, 2, which is really 12. And if I get rid of that decimal point, I would have 46. So we're multiplying our digits, ignoring the decimal point. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. I put my 0 here because this is really 40. And 40, multiplying by 40 is the same thing as multiplying 12 by 4 and then by 10. And we know that's where the 0 comes from. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. And we put them together. You get 552 to start. However, it's not 552. 12 times 46 is 552. 12 hundredths times 4 6/10 is not. So when we solved this, we moved it 2 places to the right for the 12 and 1 place to the right for the 6. That's a total of 3 shifts to the right. So now we need to do 3 shifts to the left. So it is right here. We go 1, 2, 3, and it goes right at the front. So 552 thousandths is what you should have. Again, this 0 is optional. It doesn't change your answer. Okay, maybe you want to press pause and try this on your own and then come back and check with me. I'm going to start off. I'm going to ignore that decimal point between the 1 and the 5. So I have 152. And if I get rid of this decimal point, I would now have 0, 8, which is 8. So I'm going to do 152 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 1 is 41. And 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So right now, 152 times 8 is 1,216. But I want to know what this is. So to make it 152, we shifted 2 places right. And to make this 8, we shifted 1 place right. That's a total of 1, 2, 3 places we shifted to the right. So in our answer, we're going to shift back 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So to undo multiplying by these 3 tens, we just divide by the 3 tens. All right, check it out. Go ahead if you'd like to try this on your own. If you feel comfortable doing that, go for it. And then press play when you're ready. Okay, if I got rid of that decimal point, I would have 2,461. And if I got rid of that decimal point, I'd have 009, which would be 9. I'm going to multiply these two. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 4 is 36. And 36 plus 5 is 41. And 9 times 2 is 18, plus 4 is 22. The biggest mistake I see is that people just leave it like that and forget, oh yeah, I changed these numbers. So when you changed 24 and 61 hundredths, you moved it 2 places right. And when we changed 9 hundredths, we moved it 2 places right. That's a total of 4 tens that we multiplied by. So now I have to divide by 10 4 times. So my decimal point's at the end. Remember, that's where it is when you don't see it. So I'm going to move to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4 places, because 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I did with the number of shifts. Okay, so I know you have a whole back page of a bunch of examples, and in class, I'm probably just going to gauge it and see where people are at with this. So I might have an additional part 2 to this lesson to go through all of these. I'll find out after I do some whiteboards. So stay tuned. For now, you're good. Have a great day.